Namaste and welcome to the Swadeshi Podcast. First things first, thank you all for joining and listening to the podcast. As this is the first episode, I will try to explain the nature of this podcast and the contents of it. My personal introduction will follow in the coming episodes. So let's jump straight into it. So, why the name the Swadeshi Podcast? Two reasons. This podcast will deal with a lot of Swadeshi subjects, which I will get into soon. Second, I don't believe there are enough, or for that matter, any podcasts that deal with these topics through a Swadeshi lens. And there are various issues that we need to look at through a Swadeshi lens or framework. Okay, but why do we need a Swadeshi framework? What about the existing Western understanding of things? Again, two reasons. One, this Swadeshi framework is very important in understanding our own identity in the world and the role we can play to shape it further. When I say we, it includes anyone who believes that the Swadeshi framework is in fact beneficial or is even an effective way to talk about things. This takes me to the second reason why we need such a framework. The current Western framework. It could be in the context of religion, politics, culture, well-being, or even morality, is at best insufficient and at worst a harmful way to look at and understand our Indian civilization. And I'll get into each of those topics in the coming episodes one by one. This very Western worldview has been used by the colonialists back in the day and is still being used by Western intellectuals, academicians, and even our own countrymen who are Indian by birth but are Western by thought. They use this to dissect the very fundamentals of our civilizational truths. This situation reminds me of an idiom. If the only tool you have is a hammer, you treat everything as if it were a nail. That seems apt here. There are fundamental limitations in our current Western understanding of our own identity. Therefore, it is only logical to use our own framework to study our reality, history, culture, and other dimensions of our civilization. Most Indians, especially the youth of today, are being brought up in these Videshi notions of understanding our history, culture, and civilization, and it has diluted our identities to the point of not knowing who we are as a people. A vast majority of the young population in the country is completely ignorant and unaware of our civilizational history in any meaningful sense. They are a reflection of mass confusion and ignorance. This is resulting in either completely accepting the Videshi way, which is being done by the vast majority, or being hostile to it, which is also being done by a few people. Both of these are a result of improper understanding of these two worldviews. The cause for such a state of affairs is a complex mix of historical, economical, and other sociological and social factors, which are not the prime focus of this podcast, although we'll be discussing some of those along the way. But my main objective through this project is to present a Swadeshi framework of understanding, appreciating, and even criticizing our own reality without the need of an imported deficient outlook. The obvious implications of such perceptions are clearly visible in the country today. Lack of respect or pride in our heritage and past, inferiority complexes in various aspects of life, complete disregard towards any appreciation or objective look at our own history or achievements. All these serve as clear examples of our mind and thought being framed and shaped by the outsiders and outside theories. Okay, I hope that by now you are starting to recognize the need for such a notion of a Swadeshi viewpoint. Even if you don't completely grasp the full picture at this instance, the coming episodes will definitely help you understand what this can contribute to our civilizational conversation, and I am positive that it will help us to solve some problems, if not in the real world, at least in our heads. So that's it for the introduction of this project. In the coming episodes, we'll be dealing with a lot of heavy subjects such as religion, slash dharma, politics, morality, culture, through this framework that I'm proposing. I also have plans to invite some guests onto the podcast who can talk about these concepts. Yeah, but I'm getting ahead of myself now. And lastly, I will be uploading this series on at least 2 platforms, and YouTube is one of them. You can follow me on Twitter and YouTube. Those are the places I'm most active on. Definitely follow me on Twitter for any updates regarding the podcast. You can also write to me if you have any suggestions, comments, or insights you want to share. Commenting on YouTube is a good way. Direct messaging me on Twitter or tweeting at me directly is a better way to grab my attention. And again, thank you for joining me and listening to the podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the next episode.